Hello everyone and a warm welcome to Halland Tech Week and Varberg. This seminar is focusing on cybersecurity. This is the first ever Halland Tech Week and hopefully there will be many more. It's the 6th to the 9th of October, so also tomorrow we have a total of 24 events, so you still have a chance to participate. My name is Eva Hjelmered and I work at the Alexanderson Institute here in Varberg. And we have this seminar today thanks to the so-called COM3 project. COM3 stands for Building Competencies for Competitive Companies. We are focusing on how SMEs make rural areas more attractive places to live, work and invest in, and how local and regional authorities need the right tools and competencies for supporting rural enterprises in their digital transformation. In this project, we are cooperating with the University of Aalborg. Aalborg University has a department of electronic systems, and here you find the PhD fellow Shreyas Srinivasa. Shreyas is also active in the cybersecurity network of the university, which is 16 members of staff at the university. Shreyas will today talk about cybersecurity and how you can protect your business, how we can create awareness and preparedness. We have about 40 participants here today. Some are logged in and some are here in Varberg. So whether you're from Sweden, Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands or Denmark, you're all very welcome. At the end of the presentation, there will be a Q&A. So when Shreyas is talking, you can write your questions in the chat and we will raise them at the end. If you're present here in Varberg, you find notepads under your chairs and you can fill in your questions there. You will all be muted during this presentation, but we would like you to keep your cameras on because that's much more pleasant when we're having this conversation. So without further ado, I would like to give the virtual floor to Shreyas.
Thank you very much, Eva, for your kind words, and I welcome everybody who is interested to know about cybersecurity. Yes, I would say thank you for giving me an opportunity to present here. So without delaying further, I would like to start the presentation. So I would just like to know if you're able to see my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So let's begin. So I would like to start the presentation by just showcasing the number of attacks that we have encountered just today. So as you can see on your screen, that we have already encountered around 3.5 million attacks just today. And many of you might be just wondering where are all these attacks coming from and who are doing these attacks and why? It's a very important question. Well, we will get to that shortly, very soon. And the most important part, which you see on your screen right now, is about the attack trend that you see in Sweden right now. Well, I would say that there are similar attack trends in the rest of the countries around the world as well. But just for showcasing today, I would like to showcase the attack trend that's happening around Sweden. And on your screen that you can see that there are a lot of infections and attacks, especially towards the banking sector. So keep your wallet safe, my friend. So let's go further and see about or learn more about these kind of cyber attacks and learn how to detect them and see their impact on your businesses. So just a short introduction as well before I start. My name is Shreyash Srinivasa, and I work as a PhD fellow at Aalborg University in Denmark. And my main research topics include deception systems in cybersecurity. So I basically work on determining the systems that are trying to fool you as an end user and trying to steal some valuable information from you. So yeah, that's basically just the gist of the idea. And prior to starting with my PhD, I worked 7 years in the banking domain as in the Security Operations Center and cybersecurity incident response teams. I also headed the security response teams for a major bank in Germany. So I also pursued my master's in Germany at TU Darmstadt, and I specialize in cybersecurity. Well, in my free time, if I'm not really influenced by the rest of the world, I try to do some reverse engineering and digital forensics and always try to ask the questions, why are things so weird? So let's look at the agenda. I will try to keep you as engaging as possible as the topic of cybersecurity is. And I would like to showcase the agenda about what a cyber attack means, the threat landscape for SMEs in cybersecurity, the challenges, how we can protect ourselves, how can we detect attacks, and also probably do some hands-on work. So don't worry about the hands-on work. Even if you're just with your phone, we can do some hands-on right there, wherever you are. Okay, so to begin with, everyone might be just wondering about the initial map that I showcased in the beginning of the presentation about the cyber attacks, right? And there is a major misconception in the world today that these attackers are people who are wearing black hoodies and who are working in dark rooms and just typing some things and they are attackers. And I think this is a major conception. And to look as to what a cyber attack looks like, it's very, very different in normal terms. So here is just a small video. It's very short, around 4 minutes, to just show you how the modern day attack looks like. Yeah, just let me know if you're not able to hear the sound or the video doesn't show up.
Shreyas, we can't hear the sound of the video, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay. Let me try to do something about the sound here. Well, actually, you don't need the sound, actually. I think the visuals are just fine. I think you can interpret what's the background sound is all about.
Shreyas, is it possible to just say a few words of what is happening in the film?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I think I'll just pause the video at this moment to explain you what's happening. So think, already imagined that the girl is the hacker or the attacker in the instance. And what she's trying to say is that you don't really need very good capabilities or advanced technical capabilities to do an hacking attempt. So what she's trying to do is basically using social engineering skills, the data which is already available today on the internet, to try to steal information and be someone and send an email on behalf of a CEO of a company to all the employees by faking his signature and trying to attach an email attachment where the organization are trying to download this attachment and in short fall victim to this kind of an attack. So what happens eventually, the steps which she's trying to follow is she's first trying to get the information about this company, which is Qualicut on the internet. The business has a website these days, so it's not very uncommon. So once she knows the information about the website, she's trying to find out the owner or the CEO of this very small enterprise. And what she tries to do next is to find the relationships this person has. And she logs into Facebook, a very social networking platform, and tries to find out the relationship of the CEO, his wife, and his other relations. And she happens to find the wife of the CEO, and also gets to know that the wife and the CEO went to the same university and the workplace. So she steals the identity there about trying to impersonate one of the friends of the CEO's wife who was working in a similar university or who was studying at the same university. And then what she tries to do is purchase an internet domain with the same name as the company's name, with just a small letter difference. Instead of Qualicart, she purchases something which is called Qualcart. And the next step, what she does is trying to impersonate the CEO. She just copies the signature and tries to send it out to all the employees of the company. Of course, she uses one major prospects, which is very interesting for all companies today, is the use of sales representatives. So what the sales representatives do is tend to share more information than actually required on the internet, and also leave unwanted information available on the internet. That's what the girl also finds on the internet. So from here on, the attack goes plain simple. She tries to send an email to all the employees of this organization, which is Qualicart, along with a very harmful attachment. She impersonates the CEO so that every employee in the company opens the email and the attachment. And since the attachment contains a very harmful virus, it infects the whole organization. So all computers in the organizations go still, which leads to the next thing, which is about the ransomware. So she demands a ransomware against the CEO to release the computers back. And eventually, the company faces media pressure and market pressure to eventually pay up the attacker for the amount, and the attacker releases all the computers back to normal. So as you can see here is that the attacks are quite diverse. It doesn't mean that there is a person sitting in a dark room doing a lot of technical work and trying to do some attacks. So hackers are present very much around you, near you, maybe sitting in a cyber cafe next to you and planning the next big cyber attack. So just for an introduction. So let's go further. I was just reading by the Swedish threat landscape to understand about where do attacks come from, especially in Sweden. And it's very nice that the government of Sweden has released a national cybersecurity strategy, which dates back to 2016. It's a very nice document, and I believe that the cybersecurity awareness started before there. And I'm not sure if the organizations or small, medium enterprises are going through such documents, which the government is made possible. But it's very important, and that's the reason I shared that the government has taken steps for creating awareness, but I'm not sure if the people are following any of these steps. Um, on the right side picture showcases about the very recent attacks that has been analyzed by a company which is called TrueSec in Sweden. And it says almost 80% of all the organizations in Sweden are facing cyber attacks. And the cost especially is overwhelming, which says it has a cost of around 22 billion Swedish krona. So which is an enormous cost which the companies are paying back to the attackers to get systems back to normal. So by the inference of these documents, I see the most targeting attacks these days, which is ransomware, which leads to 47% of the attacks. To just give you an introduction about what a ransomware is, it's very, very similar to the video that we saw, where the entire company is shut down. All the computing systems in the companies are shut down. And on your screen, you see a static screen, which demands you for money to unlock your systems and computing equipment. So this is just like how the plain old kidnapping works, except that the hacker seals off all your computing systems for ransom. Of course, there is transaction hijacking, which is also quite common with the digital payments that we have today. And at this moment, I would like to remind everybody Sweden was the first country to introduce an online payment system back in 90s. Sweden has a very whole history of making e-payments, and also the longest history of having the transaction hijacking attacks. What this means is when you're trying to pay for somebody or some service online, there is a man in the middle or an attacker in the middle who is trying to impose himself as the legitimate service and trying to steal money from you. So I think the rest of the chartbusters speak for itself, you also see a lot of data theft happening, which is not very uncommon for the rest of the countries as well. But the first two is kind of overwhelming, I would say. So the next step I would say is, or probably everybody would be asking themselves is, of course, yes, there are a lot of attacks, but how do attackers get to know about vulnerable services, or where do attackers get their information from to know if there is any vulnerable system around? So just like everybody uses Google today to search for almost anything on the internet, attackers also have a mini version of what do they call as Google. It is called Shodan, where they search for weak systems online or vulnerable systems online. So this is completely safe. You can all open this on your phones, or you can open it on your computers right now. It's not blocked by any country so far in the earth. And you can simply search for any vulnerable devices you want based on country, based on service, anything. And it will list it for you, including all the information about how to access it and what the vulnerabilities are. Yeah, pretty strange in modern times, but yes, it's legal. This slide shows you a nice tiny picture about what you can get from this search engine, which is quite similar to Google. You see a search box. And in this picture, especially what I'm trying to search is webcams that are open to the internet, which are very unsecure. And I'm surprised to see a lot of webcams in Switzerland are pretty open to the internet, which also means that I can log into any webcam on a street in Switzerland and look at the traffic and probably do other things as well. Well, I would not say it on the online here, but as you can see, all this information is provided for free. Anybody can access it, and it's available. So when it's available, why not access it? And let's look at it in the other way. The attackers are looking for this information to attack you. But on the other way, if you find your organization in such a search engine, make sure that you get yourself out of such search engines. which means that you have to protect yourself, which means that your company or your business is not safe on the online systems. Yeah. So this is also one of the important parts. A very good question also, which I have been asked in the past, is what makes SMEs vulnerable to cyber attacks? So here I would like to provide with two perspectives, one as an attacker and the other one as a defender. Because I have been working in both the domains for quite some time now, I think I would be able to explain both the perspectives. If I'm an attacker and if I'm looking at an SME, what are the things that I would see? Uh, Definitely, I would feel, or I know that the SMEs have a budget restraint, so they cannot really invest their budgets on something like cybersecurity right from the start, which is a very common mistake. So this gives the confidence to an attacker that probably an SME is not following anything or any cybersecurity measures. Of course, SMEs focus on a lot of market presence, which means that they have a very sales-oriented approach in their online business marketing strategies, which tend to expose more information than what is required. And most of their IT systems are outsourced. So which means that in case of a disaster or in case of a detection of an attack, they cannot immediately respond. So they will have to first contact this outsourced IT and try to explain them what's happening. And by the time the outsourced IT tries to figure out what's happening, the attack is finished, right? And there's also a pressure to recover from the press. So these days, the press is always demanding more news and influencing the people. So it's very important to get the social presence back. So they have enormous pressure. And they are pretty much small targets, which can lead to big targets. So that's also one important aspect. And the most nice thing is about the last point, which I have seen a lot, is that the easy cleanup after the job is done. So they don't have to really focus on cleaning up a lot of things. So this is an attacker's viewpoint. Let's look at what's a defender's viewpoint. If I am a security consultant who is working for an SME, what are the challenges that I face as a defender? The first thing is that SMEs have poor view about the active threats that they are facing. 99%, I would say, are not even aware that they are under attack at this very moment. And they discover the threats very, very late. And that's a very big problem because of lack of infrastructure, digital infrastructure. And it's a very big challenge to minimize the risks and impact. And it's often seen that the administrations in SMEs do not really concentrate on control of organizational private data. I have seen data lying around in random Excel sheets, which is very confidential, which is very important. An attacker could just choose a random Excel sheet to cause a very big attack as well. We have seen that in the past. And of course, there are no focus on backups. I don't know when was the last time you have backed your machines. So that's a very big challenge. And the view of being prepared with cybersecurity does not exist, more or less. This is a defender's viewpoint. So the basic questions are, what can be done and how can it be done to solve these problems? Yeah, so let's look at how we can try to solve these problems. I would say that any cyber threat can be detected very early by just keen awareness and observation patterns. And of course, preparedness follows the awareness. Yeah. What kind of awareness is required? So the first key to being aware in cybersecurity is to observe if a system is deviating from its intended behavior. Yeah, you don't want some fancy new features. And of course, you would enjoy these features at the same time if they're trying to extract confidential information from you. That's very risky. We have seen a lot of weird examples. For example, a coffee machine having a microphone and an internet connection. Of course, you could interpret it as like, probably you can order a coffee by telling the coffee machine which coffee you want. But at the same time, we all know, and I probably, or everybody would agree, that very interesting conversations happen in the kitchen. and there are a lot of secrets, gossips, which are let out in front of coffee machines. So at the same time, this can be a big threat as well. So probably you should not talk in front of a coffee machine, but just saying. Another point would be how if your printer is accessing or trying to access your phone contacts. We have seen this as well. Very recent case would be of one of the customer or the client which contacted us from Denmark, who said that a fax was sent to all his contacts, very important contacts, demanding that he's in an emergency situation and he needs some money. So again, please be aware. If there is something which is not happening as intended, and if it's starting to behave weird, just question yourself if it's really required. Yeah, this is the first key, being aware. And a very interesting example which happened a couple of weeks earlier. It's very disturbing, but you could see that an attacker tried to access a baby monitor. So you should ask this question as to why a baby monitor would need an internet connection, right? It's not, first of all, required. So there was a random claims by the attacker who took pictures of the baby and then exploiting the parents to demand a ransom money. So stay aware and also spread the awareness about cybersecurity and about its impacts. So to summarize it, data is everything these days. So the more data you have and the more irregularities you have in maintaining your data, the more likely that you will be attacked. Yeah. So please be careful about the data you reveal and share, be it personal information or company information or any confidential information. Please make sure your databases are properly protected. And this is the point 3 and 4 and 5 are most neglected in majority of the organizations. They refuse to use email encryption and digital signing. It doesn't cost much. It just probably costs you a little bit lesser than your Netflix account per month. So please make sure that your organization is using email encryption and digital signing. And this will especially prevent attacks that we saw on the video where somebody is trying to impersonate as your CEO and trying to send out emails. Yeah. And of course, please don't randomly plug in flash drives into your computers. If you find a flash drive on somebody's desk, you are even more curious to see what's inside the flash drive, but also eventually it could cause harm to your own computer. So please discard flash drives that you spot at random places. And don't let anyone give you a free flash drive and to plug it into your system. Enabling two-factor authentication is very, very important as well. Please make sure that you're not only doing it for your professional business, but also for your personal business. Make sure your Gmail accounts or whatever private email accounts that you have do support two-factor authentication. If they do not, please sign out from such email systems. Yeah, an email is a single point of compromise. If an attacker gets access to your email, he can have access to your entire life, both professional and personal. And please do not click on unknown links and attachments from unknown people. And most importantly, try to have a budget for your company's products and services. And please, please, please have a very strong password. Let's come to the defending part. Yeah. So I would read that maybe majority of you have already sensed the key for awareness now. So let's go about what can we do to defend ourselves as a person or in the company as a consultant, or what can we do? So let's look at what defensive security is about. It's an active part of cybersecurity. Defensive security or active defense can be defined as a proactive measure, which is taken to identify threats early and using special detection-based tools like honeypots, intrusion detection systems, and monitoring tools. Well, nothing to be afraid of. These terms can be very new to all of you, but maybe some of you already know about these terms. We will look at what these terms mean. Yeah. So basically, you use defensive security to detect the threats early. So yes, these are the list of strategies that you already see on your screen. And I think I am running out of time a little bit, so I will speed up. And yeah, this is also basically my research. And what honeypots are basically they are fake systems. So they resemble a real system. They attract the attackers to perform a real attack on your infrastructure. And eventually they end up getting trapped. So the honeypot records all the interaction that an attacker does against your organization. There are some free honeypots out there, but they are quite complex to set up and deploy. So we will look at some measures to how you can do it individually. So sorry that I had to run through the last couple of slides because the hands-on is more important, I would say, and it provides some very good information about how to defend or identify threats early. So the first thing which I'm going to introduce is something called as a canary token. It's very easy. And the second thing, we will look at something which is called Hostage. It's an app which is developed by us at Aalborg University. It's an honeypot which you can put on your phone, and you can actually create a honeypot for a nuclear power plant, up to a nuclear power plant, or whatever your organization service or product is. You can just run it on your phone, which will fool the attacker to attack it. Yeah. So let's quickly try to run through it. So what are honey tokens? They are just basically fake files, images, and directories which are deployed on your systems with a fancy name. Let's say it's called a pay slip or a salary slip. And if somebody is trying to access this file, you get an email that somebody has tried to access it, and you can know who has done it as well, probably. So let's quickly look at how this is done. So let's go to the website, which is called www.canarytokens. And here you see that you can select your token, let's say a Word document, an email address, let's say test@abc.com, and just like say alert. Create my honey token. You can download this file. Let's get back to our presentation. Yeah, you can open this file and deploy it on your machine. And if somebody is trying to open this Word document, so I will leave the presentation, I guess, as well after this session, so that you can access it, and the links are very good. So it's just that's how basically Canary tokens work. And it's very easy, it's free, and it's a very good way to know who has access to your computer, if not you, just you. This is very important to check some background viruses as well. If there are some bad viruses or malware trying to check your files on your computer, you will as well know about it. Next one is a very interesting project, which is called Hostage. It's developed by us, and I'm one of the lead developers of this app. And what it tries to do is it simulates a variety of industrial systems or enterprise systems on your phone, and you can leave it open to the internet, and you will see if attackers are attacking you. So we have an online course which is especially structured to help you navigate through Hostage and to help you work with Hostage. Of course, I'm lagging a little bit on time, or else I would have shown you how this works. But it's a very interesting project, and I encourage you all to please download this app. It's completely free, and try it out on your own. And it doesn't require a lot of technical knowledge to operate this. It works just like a game, but it's really, really effective. So this is the link where you can download the app from the Play Store. And of course, there are other defensive strategies you can always use for protecting your company or your digital infrastructure. So I thank you for your time and patience. And I'm sorry that I could not put more on the hands-on session, but the key to everything is to be aware and to be prepared. Stay safe, and thank you.
Thank you, Shreyas. That was really interesting and quite scary as well, I might say, of some of the things. We will see if anyone has any questions. You're free to ask them in the chat. Otherwise, I have a few questions for you, if that's okay.
Yes, sure.
Yes. Okay. First of all, you were talking about the banking sector is often attacked. Are there any other specific sectors that are considered extra vulnerable?
Well, predominantly it's the banking service that has been attacked the most. But apart from that, I would say it's more or less a trend which is followed. We recently saw an increasing trend of attacks at hospitals because of the COVID-19 situation. So the attackers definitely knew the care industry's focus is on something more interesting, and they would be least interested in protecting their businesses. So we saw that trend recently as well. Another important note regarding this was that the first homicide was booked in the United States because of a cyber attack. So the cyber attack made the hospital systems vulnerable, and it stalled the security systems, and the ventilators were stalled. So the person died. So it was reported as a homicide.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's really sad. Another question is, because you said that Sweden has a national cybersecurity strategy. Is this something that is common in other countries as well?
Yes, definitely. I have seen this a lot in the European countries. In general, that the government is pushing forward to ensure cybersecurity awareness is present among the regional locations, and especially at the SME sector as well. So definitely, and it's being promoted as well. So I encourage everybody to please have a look at this document.
Yeah, good. But you said that people are maybe not taking the steps that has been said in the strategies. Are Swedes not as good as citizens in other countries, or is it this also in other countries?
It doesn't mean that Swedes are not good enough. It's all about priorities. So I cannot say or take a name of a country in general to say that they are not good enough. But it's the people, I would say, or the organizations who are not focusing a lot on cybersecurity in general.
Okay. Another question is about the enormous costs of this. And you said ransomware, that's about 47%, and you mentioned transaction hijacking, etc. What is the most common threat against SMEs? Because perhaps transaction hijacking isn't that much for SMEs.
Exactly. Ransomware is definitely the most. We have seen a lot of cases where basically the attacker compromises the website of the SME. So that's the initial strongholding of any company. It's a strong marketing material. So they try to compromise the website, and when a person from the outside tries to access the website of the SME, it shows something which is very bad, and which shows that the company has been compromised. And under this pressure, what the companies tend to do is they pay up the attacker to make sure things are back to normal. So this is a very common thing. Yeah.
And the last question I have is about the app of Hostage. You said it was written that it's available for Android.
Yes.
Will it be available for iPhones as well?
It's too early to say, but we are trying to do something. But it's not available as of now, but maybe in the future. There are some limitations on the Apple infrastructure that we cannot use certain features. So that's the reason we predominantly deployed it on Android. And also part of sustainability, that Android phones are being discarded right away as and when there are newer models available. So it's also a nice step to use your old Android phones in your company's security. So why not?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We have a question from Norway here, from Kyrre. Do you know of any stats showing the distribution of attacks related to firm size?
Good question. Related to firm size. It's an interesting question because normally the small or medium-sized enterprises do not even report a cyber crime and cyber attack. That's a biggest problem. Of course, the big ones get reported because of media and press. But in the smaller companies, they are afraid that it might inversely cause damage to their market reputation. So they don't even go for reporting such incidents. And thanks to GDPR, we are not even allowed to talk about some companies regarding this. So I'm not sure of any stats available as of now, but I do see that the Swedish Threat Intelligence Report lists something in percentages wise in their document about the active threats that have been targeted towards SMEs per year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see, do we have any more questions? No. Yes, sorry. One question is about to arrive here. We have a question here from Anders. How can these kinds of attacks cause problems for an accommodation, as for instance, a small hotel?
Yes, absolutely. I would say I can date back to around 3 or 4 years back where I was working as a cybersecurity consultant, and I remember one of the cases which came from hospitality sector. And the attack came from within, I would say, because of the main demand of people staying in the hospitality sector or staying in hotels is the requirement for a valid internet connection. So internet is required everywhere. And the hospitality sector made a tiny mistake of how they provided this internet capabilities to its customers. And one of the very intelligent person who stayed at the hotel tried to compromise the entire network of the hotel, which he gained access to all the payment systems and also the rating systems, and to know what is being watched on the television on the other rooms. So it can happen from all directions. So yes, definitely the hospitality sector is one big sector as well. So I would say start preparing from within the infrastructure to sort out the problems. Yeah.
We have from the same questions, how can we make them aware? Sorry, how can we make them aware?
The first thing is it has to come from the management, unfortunately, because unless the management takes essential steps to make people aware, make its employees aware about such impacts, it's not possible. Because however much the lower level employees, I wouldn't call them lower level, but the people without power are trying to make a statement, the management would not concentrate until and unless they know about its impacts. So make sure that the management is well aware about the impacts of such attacks, and then probably allocating a special budget to make sure awareness is there within the company or the sector is this first step, I would say.
Good. The next question is from Interkommunale Leidal and Bike. Do all companies who are attacked need to pay, or is there also help from governments?
Okay. It's kind of a tricky question from Bika, but not all companies enjoy this benefit from the government unless there is something which is compromised, which involves government information or which causes a big media impact for the government. So I would say no, it's not. And the recent case of what happened in a Wirecard in Germany is kind of an evidence for it. So yeah, not all companies enjoy this privilege.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all of the questions we have now. But if anyone wants to get in contact with Shreyas, we have all your information, so you're very welcome to do so. So thank you very much, Shreyas. It's been really interesting, inspiring and scary at the same time, I would say. And I'm really interested to hear more about this. And if you're interested as well, you can follow the project COM3, the Interreg project where we are cooperating. So thank you again from the Alexanderson Institute. Thank you, Shreyas. Thank you all for participating. And this is it from us in Varberg and Halland Tech Week.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.